Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back to another episode. In today's episode, we're going to be doing your favorite cost of living. That's right. In today's episode, we're going to be going into detail as to, well, what my personal expenses are out here in Mexico. Your personal expenses could differ. They might be lower, they might be higher than what mine's are. But at the end of the day, this is why I like to go deep into details when it comes to cost of living. Again, these are just my own personal cost of living expenses for me, my wife, and my dog. Of course, yours could be a little different, but you can use this as a rough guide, a rough estimation, all right, so that you can gauge as to what you could be spending out here when you finally do decide to move out to Mexico. Now, these prices and what you're looking on screen right now are the current prices as of the first week of January of 2025. Every single year on this channel, I like to go on ahead and do a cost of living re-estimate because things change. There's inflation, the dollar to peso exchange rate changes. Again, 6 months ago things were over 20% more expensive than they are today, and as of now, again, things are looking good. In fact, outlook is looking very good for the strength of your dollar or your currency, wherever you're coming from, compared to the peso. Again, 6 months ago, all the rage was the strong Mexican peso, the super peso, and as the peso was getting stronger, well, your dollar was getting weaker and you were getting a lot less bang for your buck. Therefore, things were getting even more expensive. There was a lot of people in the audience already complaining as to how Mexico was getting expensive, and well, I wanna go home. Bruh. That wasn't helping. That was only making things way worse. But again, 6 months into the future, here we are in January of 2025, and now things have changed dramatically, and we're back to where we were a few years ago when we were experiencing a really good exchange rate of 20 to 1. And as I was saying earlier, the outlook is looking very good as to where it could at the very least maintain around 20 to 1 and perhaps even go higher. Therefore, again, it may be, instead of going 20% more expensive, things are going to be 20% more affordable. Could you imagine things being even more affordable out here in Mexico? Well, that's a possibility, but let's not look too deep into the future. Let's just focus on today, on the now, and going forward from here on in. So as of right now, the exchange rate is 20 to 1. And as you guys can see on the screen, you're going to be seeing a list of my expenses, which are probably going to be the same expenses you have, such as rent, internet, cell phone, water, propane, gas, transportation, CFE, power bill, the electricity, food, and many other expenses that can range from just fun activities to saving up for emergencies to dating, medical expenses, visa runs, whatever you got. Everybody has different kinds of expenses, all right? As for me, again, I've been here 6.5 years, going on 7 years, so my expenses are completely different than your expenses just landing here. Basically, a few days into living in Mexico. They're going to be probably more expensive than they are for me, where I've been living here for a lot longer. But most of these expenses have not changed. Again, in the 6+ years that I've lived here, all right, I'm going on 7 years living in Mexico, my expenses have basically been the same. If anything, they've gone up a little bit, but not much. Back when I first moved out here and I was living very lean and had no choice but to be extremely frugal, my expenses sometimes per month were around 600, 700 a month. But fast forward to today, again, I have a wife, I got a dog, we have a few added expenses here and there. So on average, my expenses per month right now are around $1,000 a month, which comes out to around 20,000 pesos. Now, again, these expenses are not set in stone. Some months might be able to bring in some more money, and we might be able to put that money towards savings. Other months, we might have a really bad month because we have a medical emergency or something else, and all of a sudden we have to dip into the savings and it's going to cost us more. So on average, this is what you could be expecting to be spending out here in Mexico. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be looking at this and say, Jose, you're crazy. What are you talking about? That's way too little. There's no way that I can live on just $1,000 a month. All right. And there's going to be a lot of other people out there in the audience that are going to be looking at this and say, oh, wow, that's pretty awesome, Jose. Wow, my expenses are actually pretty similar or a lot less. In fact, maybe some of you guys down there in the comment section could go on ahead and leave your cost of living. For some of you guys that are living out here already in Mexico, share what your cost of living is, whether it's more or less than it is, and maybe even share where you're watching us from, what city you're watching from, so you guys can help out the people in the audience even more than what I'm being able to help them out by this video, because you guys are giving the people out there in the audience even more context as to what the cost of living could actually be. Because again, there's all kinds of people that are moving out here, and this is just a rough estimate. This is my estimate. This is not everybody's cost of living, okay? And by the way, shout out to everyone out there in the comment section that's always helping everybody out by leaving, more information to help out everyone else out there in the audience that are still, getting their feet wet on what it is to move out there to Mexico. And thanks to everyone out there for all the likes, all the subscribes, everyone that helps out the channel in every single way. You know who you are. Thank you very much. And so, as I was saying, and as I like to say and talk about on the channel all the time, as to what my expenses are roughly out here in Mexico, and that they are around $1,000, and that a lot of people out there, they get triggered by this for whatever reason, because they say that my expenses are way too low, that I'm lying, and other people out there say that no, that my expenses are right on point because their expenses are similar to mine. And so, with that said, I want to give a quick reminder out there to everyone out there in the audience, in case you do not know, that the typical Mexican out there, most Mexicans only make around 500, 600 US dollars a month. All right. If they're lucky, they'll be making $1,000 a month. All right. And if they're doing really well, they'll be making 1,500, 2,000 a month. Now, again, I'm talking in dollars out there because most of my audience is out here American, and so this is the easiest way to basically get this point across here. But the reality is that, again, a typical Mexican out there, working a regular job at at the convenience store, at Walmart, at McDonald's, they're making around 15,000 a month. Okay, 12,000, 15,000 pesos a month. All right, if they're lucky. All right, it's more around again the 12,000 peso range, which again roughly comes out to $600 at the moment. All right, but the reality is that for people that are making in 20,000 pesos or above, those are the professionals out there. And there's a lot of Mexicans that are also in the informal economy. This is why most Mexicans prefer cash, all right, as opposed to paying with the credit, and paying through the banks and the debit card and all this other stuff. But again, that's another point for another day. That's not what we're talking about right now. I just want to give a quick reminder out there to everyone that even if for whatever reason you think it's rough to live on $1,000 a month, think about it. That's living pretty good for a typical Mexican. Most Mexicans out there, they live on a lot less than that, and not because they want to, it's because they have to. They don't have much of a choice. So let's just keep all that in mind. And again, if I'm wrong with any of these numbers, any Mexicans watching out there, please, let me know down below how much you make, what is your salary, what the real salary at, OXXO or Walmart is, and so on and so forth. And I would really greatly appreciate that, because that will give a lot more context to everyone out there in the audience, okay? So now what we're going to be doing out here is that we're going to be going basically expense through expense, and I'm going to be letting you guys know exactly kind of what each expense entails. All right, so expense number one and most important is rent. Now, for some people out there in the audience, this is a moot point, because you'll be able to come out here to Mexico and afford to buy a home. Again, for more information on that, you can watch my videos on real estate for more context on that. But for a lot of you guys out there in the audience, you're probably going to rent like I do. And I rent a 2-bedroom home, 1 bathroom, with a big backyard for 6,000 pesos a month. All right, so 6,000 pesos roughly comes out to 300 a month. Now, when I first moved here many years ago, I was living in a townhouse apartment, all right, basically a single guy's pad, all right. It was a furnished apartment. Basically, it came with everything. All I had to do was pay for the electric bill, and it was perfect for me when I first landed here because, again, if you guys know my story, I came out here with only $1,500 left to my name and a few bags. By the way, if you want more context on that, I'll link that video at the end of this one so you can watch that. But long story short, I came out here with not much, and I was looking for a furnished apartment, and I was able to get that. And I think my rent back then was 2,500 pesos a month. But again, the exchange rate was around 16 or 17 to 1, and things were different, and so on and so forth. But eventually I moved to another home, and then to another home, and the rent has changed. You know, when I first moved out of that place, my first rent was 5,000 pesos, and now where I live at the moment is around 6,000 pesos. But regardless, some people are paying more, some people are paying less. It just depends on what you're looking for, where you're at, what part of the city, and so on and so forth. These are just my expenses. I'm living close to a centro of Merida, Yucatan, in a 2-bedroom home. All right, I was able to get a home for 6,000 pesos, 300 a month. But for some people out there, again, I've shown you guys, especially in the recent video when we were doing affordable homes, you know, you can get a home that is bigger than where I live right now. You can use it even for a business and so on and so forth, and you're going to be paying around the same in rent. You know, 8,000, 10,000 pesos in rent, which is around $400 to $500 in rent for a much bigger home that you can even use for a business. So again, there's all kinds of people out there that are even renting apartments, you know, for 1,500, 2,000 a month, which roughly estimates to around 100 a month, you know, $100 a month. So I know people out there, in fact, you know, that are renting homes, you know, for around 40,000, 60,000 pesos, but it's because they got big families and they want a big home, and well, they have that out here as well. So, you know, you're going to be paying $2,000, $3,000 in rent for a giant home, where, you know, back in the USA, that's going to cost you $6,000 a month. I don't know. Regardless, the point I am making is that regardless of what you're going to be paying in rent, assuming you're even going to pay any rent, it's a lot more affordable, and it's going to be your biggest expense next to food. Okay, but again, that's all the way down at the bottom of the list. You know, we'll get to that later. But long story short, for some people out there, this is not even an expense. Therefore, if you don't have to pay any rent, you're definitely going to be able to live under $1,000 a month. All right. So with that said, let's move on to all the other expenses that everyone basically has, no matter what. All right. So expense number 2, we got the internet. All right. So what do I pay for internet? I pay 600 pesos for internet, which roughly comes out to $30 a month. All right. And again, how fast is that internet? It's fast enough for a YouTuber to function and you know, upload videos and do live streams and do everything. All right. So fast enough. All right. So it's fast. All right. I stream, you know, movies, you know, I upload to YouTube, you know, I do it all. Okay. I don't know how fast exactly it is you're looking for out there, but if you're looking for faster, you can get faster. If you need slower, you can get slower. But long story short, you know, that's how much I pay, $30, and it's a lot better internet than I ever had back in the USA. A lot more reliable and a lot more affordable. Third expense that I have out here is my cell phones. Not just my cell phone, but Christian's cell phone. Long story short, we pay 200 pesos each. All right, so $10 each to get basically, you know, unlimited everything. All right, now it's not unlimited everything. There's a certain amount of gigabytes that they give us and a certain amount of airtime. But listen, you know, in the 6.5 years that I've been here, I've never ever gone over my minutes, you know, to the point where I expired everything before my 30 days are up. Okay. In fact, the only times I've ever done that has been when I've been on vacation, you know, going to Oaxaca, Guadalajara, Mexico City, and that's it, you know, if that. And all that means is that if I use all my minutes, you know, or I use all my data, I just pay another $10, and that's it. But long story short, it's $10 for me, $10 for Christian, and we get basically unlimited everything. All right. So again, you know, we can listen to Spotify, Google Maps, you know, everything you use your phone for, you know, Instagram, whatever, Facebook, you name it. All right. So $10 each. Next expense is the water bill. So our water bill is around 600 pesos a month. Now, it's not just the city water. You got to pay for the city water. The city water is about 100, 150 pesos a month. All right, but the rest of the expense for water is the big blue water jugs, basically the purified water. So we have the water delivery guys basically come out here every week, and they deliver 3 to 4 jugs a week of water, and that's it. Basically I'm too lazy to go out there and get it myself, so I just have them come and bring it to me. All right, and so that's why I pay a little extra, but that's it. And each jug is around 30 something pesos. I don't know what they're at these moments, whatever. Anyways, so but the water bill is the purified water that we drink, so drinking water, and the city water. All right, so that's all that together. But anyways, all that together, 600 pesos, around 30 bucks a month. All right, so again, your water expenses could be a lot less than that. They could be $10, or they could be more expensive. Maybe you want a water filtration system for your home. Maybe you're not as lazy as me, and you can go get your water filled up at the manually at the water filling station for 10 pesos instead of 30 pesos like me. So it's all up to you how much you're going to spend on water. But again, long story short, that's what I spend on water. Next expense is propane. All right, so my propane expenses is around 80 pesos a month, so around $4 a month. All right, now I did a rough estimation a while ago for one of my previous videos. I forgot how I came up with the math for this, but long story short, that's what I pay a month, all right, for gas. And I cook at home a lot, all right? I do a lot of cooking at home. I don't go out and eat that much. Yes, we go out for our street tacos. Yes, we go out on date night, and we go out to, again, eat the elotes and the esquites and the maquesitas and, all the street food. So, yeah, we go out. We go out to eat. We're not going out to restaurants every single, day or anything like that. So we do a lot of cooking at home. In fact, like 5, maybe 6 days out of the week we're cooking at home. So we do a lot of cooking at home, and so that's a lot of propane, and that's all we use gas in the Yucatan for. Maybe in other parts of Mexico they use it for other things, but that's roughly estimating using a lot of gas what we spend. All right, so again, $4 a month. Okay, so next expense is transportation. So again, this is going to greatly vary depending on where you choose to live and your lifestyle. But at the end of the day, this is what I spent, all right, on transportation out here in Merida. All right, now again, everyone's a little different. All right, some people own a car, some people don't own a car, some people decide to walk a lot, ride their bicycle, maybe even get an electric bicycle. I'm expecting my transportation cost to go lower as I sell my truck, because my truck, a lot of gasoline in that thing, and the electric scooter, well, again, no gasoline. All right. And again, not just the electric scooter, but Chevrolet legs. You got to walk a lot. You got to use a regular manual bike a lot. Take the bus a lot. All right, we've done videos where we've taken the bus. We're going to do more of those. But again, out here in Merida, they've greatly improved the transportation system. So take advantage of that. If you're moving to another city, they, depending on the city, will depend on whether they have a great transportation system or not. When we went to Oaxaca, it didn't seem to have a really good transportation system. When we went to Guadalajara, it was amazing. Same as Mexico City. Again, these two are major cities, so they had really good transportation systems to get around. Subway, the buses. You got more affordable Ubers. Ubers, out here in Merida, arguably could be a little bit more expensive than maybe even Guadalajara, but hey, it is what it is. The point is that it doesn't matter what your transportation situation is, you're going to be paying money. Again, if you have a car, an automobile, even a motorcycle, well, you got to maintain that thing. That costs money. The gasoline costs money. The insurance costs money. Yes, insurance out here is a lot more affordable for the automobile. All right, but gasoline is more expensive, so you're going to be spending more on gasoline, even though you're going to be saving money on insurance or whatever it is, or maybe even maintenance. Might be more affordable, but you're going to spend more on gasoline and other expenses. So the thing is that you gotta kind of gauge that. For us, what we do is we basically take Ubers We take Didi, which is another competitor to Uber. They also have InDriver. They got various applications out there that you can use in order to, again, just get a personal driver to take you somewhere. So Uber is an option when you can't walk or bike to the location because it's too far, or you can't take the bus. Regardless, the point I'm making is that it doesn't matter who you are, this is a major expense that you need to take into account. Okay, so again, unless you are living in an area where you can walk everywhere and you never need any kind of transport, then you'll be one of the lucky few. But for most people out there, transportation is going to cost you something. All right. And for me, I try to keep this at a minimum, but we still have to get around, and it's going to cost you money. So you got to remember, then keep that in mind, that when you're even looking for a place to live, make sure that if you don't have a car, or you don't plan on having a car, that you can get around on your bike, walking, or a very, very short and affordable Uber. But the thing is that those Ubers, no matter how short and how affordable they are, they start to add up. So the reality is that you need to find a location, it doesn't matter where you live, but where you have basically all of your needs met within walking distance. Okay, so it doesn't matter for me whether I can get around in an Uber or not. I can get everything I need around my neighborhood, because I remember a few years ago when times were rough, for me and Christian out here, we weren't making that much money, and just, it is what it is. It's one of those times. I had to I couldn't even go to the grocery store. I couldn't even afford that. So I had to get everything all within, all walking distance, whether it was a little tiendita, or the little corner store, just getting all the fruits and the veg and the meat, from the butcher, whatever it was. That's what I had to do. That's what we had to do, and we couldn't even afford to go to the grocery store, right? So let's just gotta keep all that in mind. That transportation, depending on who you are, is gonna depend on how much it's gonna cost you. Okay, but it's something that, at the very least, it's still very affordable. And out here, most of the cities are very walkable. They're bikeable, so you can get around without having to need a car. So keep that again in mind. I think that if you have a car, you're going to be spending a lot more money than $50 a month. All right, now for the next expense, we have CFE power, the light bill, the power bill. Now out here in Merida, Yucatan, just like any other warm weather climate areas of Mexico, well, is going to be expensive. You're going to be spending a lot more, and it's going to be somewhere around 1,200 pesos a month, and that's, again, roughly estimating. It could be more, it could be less. Now, if you're living up in Mexico City, Guadalajara, Puebla, Querétaro, many of these other places where you don't need air conditioning all the time, well, your power bill is probably going to be very little. It's going to be a lot less than what you're seeing there, but your gas propane bill might be more because you might be needing heating. All right, so because it might be too cold. I don't know. So keep that in mind. Also, again, rent could be different up there. In some of those areas, it might be a little bit more expensive, but again, you're compensating because of the power bill, or vice versa. So you got to keep that in mind. So anyways, power bill is around, again, $60 a month. Now, I do know a lot of people out there, they're going to be telling me that those estimates are wrong. Some people, again, if you get solar panels, for example, they might be, your monthly expenses might be $5 a month. All right, might be less. All right, or might be $10 a month. All right, something like that. And that's cranking the air conditioner 24 hours a day. But some people don't have any solar panels or anything like that, and then they run the air conditioner all day, every day, and then their expenses are not going to be $60 a month. It might be, $300 a month. It might be $400 a month. All right, depending on who you are and what, how much air conditioner you actually need. For me, I like living in warm weather climates, so well, it kind of works out for me to live out here. Right now, I'm recording this in winter, in January, and it's 75 degrees outside, and I'm freezing. So again, it all depends on who you are and where you're from. Some people think 75 degrees is too hot, so just keep all that in mind. The power bill can vary. Again, just a quick reminder that every single expense that we've been discussing in today's video are my expenses, my personal expenses. So please understand that your expenses are probably going to be different, okay? And now for the last expense that we're going to be discussing here on this list is food. Now, when I'm talking about food, I'm not just talking about, what we eat every day. I'm talking about food, toiletries, all other expenses, okay? So everything from, soap to wash your butt and to wash the floor, preferably not the same kind of soap, for toilet paper, everything you could imagine that you're gonna need for the house, aluminum foil, plastic wrap, but anyway, besides the chicken and the carrots and the potatoes and the onions and the beef and everything else that you're gonna be consuming throughout the month. Okay, so this is our expenses, all right? Let me just make that clear that it's not just those things that we're going to buy at the store, but also if we go out to eat, all right? Sometimes we go out on cheap dates. In fact, most of our dates are cheap dates, and we're spending around, $15, all right, when we go out. Sometimes, maybe once, twice a month, we might treat ourselves and we'll go out to a restaurant and we'll spend a little more. But with that said, my expenses per day are around $15 US. Again, this is the rough estimate that I used to, give you this calculation. So $15 times 30 equals 500. All right. So that's basically, what our cost of, food and toiletries and all that other stuff are. And, the cost of going out for, again, the food going out part. Okay. If we go to the movie theater, that's separate. That's, down below in other expenses. We'll talk about that in a second. But again, as I was saying, that's roughly estimating. Now, again, a few months ago, we had to cut back dramatically because, again, everything was 20% more expensive, and I was not making as much money as I am, right now. Again, things differ every single month. But the point I'm making is that 6 months ago, those expenses were a lot less. But now, back to where we are now, we're back to our normal expenses, and so now we can bump that up back to $500 US a month. And again, your expenses might be a lot less, or they might be a lot more, especially if you got kids, you got a whole family. We're going to be a lot more than that. So just keep that in mind. This is a rough estimate as to what we spend a month out here. Now, when you add all of that up, all right, my total expenses are 19,880 pesos, or 994 US dollars. So, long story short, $1,000, right? I spend around $1,000 a month. Now, those are just for those expenses. This is not including fun activities such as, going to a movie theater, going to the zoo. Well, the zoo is free, but to get there, we had to pay transportation, so that's not free. And we're probably going to buy some popcorn there, whatever, what have you. But all those expenses are covered, so well, I guess that's free. But there are other things. Maybe let's say you were going to go to the beach. That's an extra expense. Again, even though it's affordable, it's a little bit of an extra expense because we're probably going to want to buy some beers. We're probably going to want to buy some trinket on the beach. Buy something from one of the vendors to eat, whatever it is. Okay, so again, fun activities. Savings, goes without saying. You should have savings, all right? Because especially in a country like Mexico, where again, you're on your own. You got to figure it out all on your own. So you better have savings, right? Emergencies, so savings, emergencies, all that. Personal habits, some of us like to smoke, some of us like to drink, some of us like senoritas, some of us like senoritos, whatever it is you're into. Everybody has personal habits, all right? So again, you got to pay for those. Dating, it doesn't matter whether you're single or not. Again, me and Christian, we still go on dates. So you got to keep that in mind. Dating is a big thing too. Medical, again, it doesn't matter who you are out there. That's also something you're probably going to have to, pay for. So you got to keep that in mind. Again, the older you are, the most likely, your medical expenses are going to be a lot higher. But again, even me and Christian, we had our own personal medical expenses in the last several years, and that definitely put a dent in our pockets. But was it make or break? No, we were able to afford it, and sure, times were rough, but hey, we're here. and we're making videos and everything's good and everything's wonderful. So long story short, again, visa runs, residency, you want to order stuff from Amazon, other personal items, and I could go on and on. Okay, again, for some of you guys out there, when you first land out here, you got to start preparing your visa situation, your residency situation. That's going to cost money, whether you're paying a facilitator or not, whether you got to go on a visa run or not. All these things cost money. For me, all those expenses are already taken care of and they're in the past. I already did that. But again, there's other expenses. There's always going to be expenses. One of the expenses that I had that was unforeseen, many years ago, 5 years ago to be exact, was when I got married to Christian. So again, I got married to my beautiful wife, and well, that was an expense. It is what it is. It's not going to be free, right? So I can go on and on. All right, there's always going to be expenses. There's always going to be things. I got family that comes to visit. I got to invite them. I got to pay for things. Yada yada yada. You know how it is. So you got to prepare for that. I'm just giving you rough estimate as to what cost of living could actually be for someone out there in the audience, for many people out there in the audience. Okay, again, for the 6+ years that I've lived here, I've been able to live out here in one shape, form, or another with this budget. It does not matter what the fluctuations were with the currency. It does not matter, what the inflation, was out here in Mexico. It also does not matter, that Merida went from the least expensive city in Mexico to now being the most expensive city in Mexico. At the end of the day, if you're frugal enough and you know what you're doing, this could be you. This could be your expenses. But again, even if you're out there and you have a lot higher expenses out there for whatever reason, just understand that they're not going to be too much further than what you're looking on screen out there. Again, if I am wrong, okay, please let me know down below in the comment section where I am wrong. At the end of the day, you're already seeing what the expenses really are out here. So what could really differ? Honestly, rent and how much you're spending on food and entertainment. Other than that, for the most part, most of the expenses are basically the same for most of us out there. So if you're out there saying that you cannot afford to live in Mexico, well, maybe you should, cut back on some of your libations, if you don't want to cut back on your entertainment, on your personal habits, on any of these things, well, then cut back on rent. If you don't have that many personal habits or many expenses on that end, well, then you can spend more on rent. But you got to live within your budget. And it's really kind of weird that some guy on YouTube has to tell you guys out there that you have to live within your budget and live within your means. Come on, we're all adults here. I think all of us should, know how to do this by now, especially if you're a lot older than me. All right, and I'm 43 years old. All right, and granted, I just learned how to, pay my bills the other day. But come on, give me a break. All right, I've made it happen. I've shown you plenty of proof. Okay, that I've been able to live out here on a certain budget. Again, $1,000, all right, give or take. So you can do it too. If you cannot do it, well, that's on you, and that's totally fine. I totally understand. I'm not here to, make anyone feel bad about that. I understand that everybody has completely different cost of living out there, and everyone out there is completely different lifestyle and so on and so forth. All right, I'm just telling you how I live. I'm just giving you what my cost of living are, and I'm just also letting you know by showing you in other videos, which I'm going to be linking at the end of this video, what it really looks like to live out here on $1,000 or less. Because again, a lot of people are, they get the misconception that living out here on around $1,000, or give or take, that you're going to be living pretty and you're going to be sitting pretty. You kind of are. You're going to be living really good, but it's not going to be as easy as you think. So again, the smaller the budget you got, the more frugal you're going to have to be, and the more you're going to have to live like the Mexicans. Again, you need to learn how to live like an immigrant. Okay, you got to live like the locals and stop living like a tourist. Okay, a lot of people out there, unfortunately, they still living out here like a tourist, and well, that's not going to end well. That's an expensive lifestyle. All right. So with all that being said, You know, I was trying to make a short video today, but you know how these videos go when it comes to cost of living. They go a little long sometimes, so hey, it is what it is. So with all that being said, guys, I want to give a big special shout out to every single one of you guys out there in the audience. Again, some of you guys that have been with me for years and years, or some of you guys that have been with me, you know, a few hours or a few days. Either way, shout out to everyone out there in the audience. Thank you so much for all your love and support throughout the years. You know, last year was amazing. Hopefully 2025 is going to be even more amazing for all of us. And again, thank you so much for everyone that participates down below in the comments, that helps the show out, you know, whether it's sending a few bucks here or there, sharing the videos, leaving a like, subscribing, whatever it is you're doing. Shout out to you. Thank you very much. Love you guys. I appreciate you guys. And, you know, with all that being said, you already know the deal. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to please like, please subscribe, please share, please hit the bell icon. But more importantly than anything else, please stay awesome. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.